Rooming Creed. Today we'll be seeing what if the Cold War went, it was World War III, but it was fought like a normal war, like a normal conventional war, like no nukes, just ground offensives and air war. Yeah. What if that, just no nukes, just face-to-face fighting. But my idea is not actually original. There's lots of videos on YouTube about what if the Cold War, World War III, but it was fought, like with no nukes, So let's see what would happen. So first, the Fluida Gap. I think the Fluida Gap's around here. The Fluida Gap would be a main target during the first days of the war because the Fluida Gap is like a flat area. So so let's change our color to red. Why am I so laggy? Okay, there we go. So of course, why? So of course, in the first days of the war, the Ax, the East Germans would attempt to push through here, and they would take that. But let's use a different color. The color's too bright. Um, there we go. So the Axis would take here and here, but the Allies also have a trick up their sleeve. So they got this. They got the North German plains, which is again flat. So the Allies would attempt to take this area. So this is the map. This looks disgusting, but still, sorry. This is the only image I could get. So the East German plain, the North one would be completely and halfly in Allied control if the Allies manage to pierce through the front line. But in the Nordic situation, the Allies would be making a front line in here, and the Russians would attempt to pierce through. Let's say but the other part that let's say that the Russians come in full force, but push, but the Russians are later stopped. Why? Guess what? The big chunky mountain. So the Russian advance in the north ends now, and now with the pure force of Bulgarian and Romanian units, they cut off connection from Turkey and Greece. But now this is the time where the Allies really shine. So Allies would throw in bombing runs around. Sorry for my voice. Allies would throw bombing runs around Berlin, Czechoslovakia, Poland, and other states, and also Bulgaria. And Czechs. Now Allies would attempt to pierce in from the Czechs, but they would have a hard time since some parts of the Czechs are actually mountain. But they pierce through with air support. But the German situation in the Fluida Gap gets even worse. Now the Germans are now piercing through, attempting to stop the Allied advance on the Czechs, and but on the north it even gets even more worse again, with the Allies attempting to push on Berlin and also entering Poland. The Allies managed to retake some land in the Nordics, but that Finland's still vibing. Now the stuff is getting real serious. Poland now is Poland now has to switch its forces here and push back the enemy, pushing them back in Berlin, and also pushing them back. The Ally, the Ax, the Warsaw Pact members pushing them away from Berlin, and now with but the Allies are now, but now the Ally, now Greece forces are now entering Bulgaria. Well, also same thing. Now both sides are reconnected, and now Bulgaria is under the risk of becoming now and destroyed and conquered by both sides. And now Russian forces attempt to take Turkey by doing a naval invasion on several on its parts, but fail miserably due to the part of lack of equipment and air support. Now the Allies attempt to pierce through, pushing out the Allies in the Czechs and pushing them back to taking the entire south, half the south part of West Germany. The NATO members attempt their hardest to retake the lands and managing to make a stable ground. While in the north, the Nordic situation is still not getting better, but the Finland forces but Finland allow but uh, Russian forces land. Russian paratroopers land on several on Italian cities, but again fail miserably with the lack of air support and equipment. Okay, this map is looking okay. Now let's make it worse. The Germans push through the line, reaching the French border. The French now getting in panic of the fear of the Germans blitzkrieging, and now the Allies now with but West Germany taking Berlin, and now this monstrosity, and also the invasion of Luxembourg, such tragicness, and now but the Belgian forces liberate Luxembourg from the German hands, and now it's a battle to the death again. The Russians come back for round 2 in Turkey and make a full-on invasion, but in one sector near Crimea, and successfully making it a base there. With that, now Turkish forces splitting into, but now Bulgaria getting liberated. Now Bulgaria pushing back with the assistance of Russian, Hungarian, and Romanian forces, pushing Turkish forces back to Constantinople and taking back lands and cutting them all off again. Now, you know what? I wanted to add Yugoslavia, but I don't know what. Is there a bucket here? You know what? Who cares? Yeah, Italian forces attempt to cross. East German mixed with the help of Czechoslovakian, Polish, and of course Russians and Hungarians pierced through, crossing over the French, entering, France. With this, the Allies countered this move by doing an offensive, pushing down the Allies, pushing down the the communists, threatening to cut them in half. Now, East Germany retakes land, retaking Berlin, and now this situation gets even worse. Bombing runs continue on the Nordic as fighting grows destructive and more destructive as both sides struggle to pierce through, but the Russians managing to pierce through with later invasions in the north and somehow here, but later fails miserably. But now Norway threatening to be cut in half. Norway attempts to holds back the invading forces to make, and next after that, guess what? I don't know, but we know what happens next. Now, Turkish forces being even weaker after brutal fighting in the Bulgarian side. Now landings on East Istanbul and Constantinople. Now Turkey being threatened of this independence. Greece attempts to hold back with the assistance of British forces. And now Albania joins in, and next after that strikes the Greece. Greece in its last stand. What's this anymore? Now Yugoslavia joining in. I'm gonna give Yugoslavia a different color. There we go. Yugoslavia joining in, and screwing up the Allies. This takes a while to color. Sorry. There we go. Now with the Allies, and also guess what? I accidentally forgot this stuff. And now with the joining, with the other nation joining in, Austria joins in the war, and later gets croak slammed. Now with Italians and the help of the Austrians pushing back the Yugoslavians, but and also pushing back and also pushing in Poland. Now with the Russians and up here being almost crushed and now attempting to successfully evacuates. But in the front line of the Russian front, the North Russian front falls apart, and now the Russians are now crossing in, and now Nordic forces defend desperately, heroically, as they try to defend the rest of their nations from the Russian red. The Germans managed to offensively push back the West Germans and enter France even deeper, and also both sides destroys the living snake out of the Austrians, putting the Austrians out of the game. This is fun. Now France all alone without the assistance of their Austrian painters. France now desperately defends the big mountains. The big mountains. Turkey falling after one of their Turkey getting cut in half because of and Greece being evacuated after fighting for 10 months. This takes place in like 1984, so it's pretty futuristic. Turkey later falling apart. Oh God. Turkey now has fallen, and now is communist. With the threat in the south destroyed, now the Russians can finally focus on the blah 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 west. With the fall of the Turkish and it's Sweden fearing for their life, they decide to join the good guys and hope, and I don't know. Geez, so long. I'm gonna do this again, but I'm gonna use Microsoft Windows Painting this time because I got a new laptop. It's a Windows 7, but beggars can't be choosers, okay? If I'm saying the sentence right. Now, the Swedish forces cutting half the Russian forces, cutting half the surprised and exhausted North Russian forces. Now, Allied forces closing into Warsaw, encircling it. I hope I pick Warsaw. But the front even gets worse when they get cut in half. Now cutting half the guys who are cutting the guys in half. Now Germany being threatened. Now Switzerland just reviving though. Now with Italy now falling next and being cut in half, Rome has fallen. So sad for the Sketty people.